Hi guys, this is gonna be the car video. So mind you, everything in this video is gonna be opinionative and may cause actual real life scenarios. So that's to clear that out. It's personal opinion. Don't get offended by this, by any means. So let's get started. One is range, because every petrol vehicle slash diesel vehicle has a certain amount of kilometers in a tank, and you can get diesel vehicles which last a fair amount of distance. Depending on the vehicle, you may get up to like 1,500 k's, I think, depending on the vehicle. With an electric car, whatever you get in the tank, or when I say the batteries for electric cars, is you can only have, depending on the manufacturer who builds those vehicles and how efficiently they are run, you may only get like 200, 300, 400 k's. Teslas have around, I think, if I believe, 7, 800 k's on one battery, which in turn is very bad for long distance driving, which is, say, from Sydney to Melbourne. If you know, Sydney to Melbourne is around 850 kilometers, depending on what part of Sydney you live in. I'm gonna say 850 k's from where I live. And when you drive, of course, you're gonna say dip in performance. Not dip in performance, I mean dip in fuel. And with a petrol slash diesel vehicle, you can stop at a fuel station and top up in like 2 minutes and go on with your way. With an electric vehicle, which is not enough electric stations in Australia to be worthy of purchase at this current moment. If you're willing to buy an electric vehicle, up to you. But with a petrol vehicle, it's much more practical to buy a petrol vehicle in Australia at this current moment than it is for an electric vehicle, even if electric vehicles have all this fancy stuff in them. But don't be fooled with the fancy stuff, because just because it's more fancy doesn't mean that it's more practical. Just keep that in mind. You have as well what you could consider as off-roading vehicles, like those used custom built SUVs. And you can't do that with an electric vehicle. You can't have an extra, like a jerry can like you have with a diesel vehicle, is you can have an extra 60 liters in the back for extra space if you need it. Or with an electric vehicle, if you charge it up overnight and you get 100%, that's 100% is all you get. While with a petrol vehicle, like I mentioned, you can have a jerry can. Instead of having 100% of tank, you may get up to 200 or 250% maximum. That's it. Which is, if you think about it, it's much more beneficial for you to buy a diesel vehicle or petrol for off-roading than it is a electric vehicle. Then if you look at the second reason is you have, let's consider as awareness, which I'm going to use it as awareness, is with a petrol vehicle, it makes noise. Common sense, right? Is when I'm going down the road and someone's, as a pedestrian doesn't have his headphones in, they will be able to hear me if they want to cross the road. Obviously, you're going to check left and right, but if with a petrol vehicle, you can hear it come. With an electric vehicle, you wouldn't be able to hear it, which I consider that more of a flaw than a benefit. But who am I to tell you what to do? There's another reason why I consider this is tuning. Tuning is a big part of the car community, like myself. If you want to tune an electric car, you can't really tune the car. You gotta replace the engines or the motors, whatever I call them, the electric motors. Is you have to take that out and the battery, put a bigger battery into it if the car is big enough, and a bigger motor for you to be able to get the same effect as a single turbo or a single tune or a supercharger install, which will be much more cost effective if you buy a petrol vehicle or diesel, depending on your preference. If you want to tune your vehicle, and if you want to have some, good sounds with as you can imagine, electric cars don't make sounds, which it's up to you what you want to do. But if tuning is a big part of the car community, and electric cars don't serve that purpose, and it's up to you. Not telling you, this is my personal opinion, like I've mentioned before, is that's it. And when it comes to horsepower, newton meters and stuff, yes, electric cars can take off faster, but there are much more flaws to an electric car than a petrol car, like I mentioned earlier in the video. If you want to race a vehicle, you're better off racing a petrol vehicle, because if you're gonna pit stop, say it's gonna be like a long race, like 4-5 laps on a say Bathurst track, since it's a big distance and you have a tuned car, it's much more beneficial for you to own a petrol vehicle let me explain. I'll explain to you why I reckon it's more beneficial. Is that you can go through the pit stop, someone can top up your car, and you just keep going. With an electric car, if you run out of charge, you gotta stop, fuel up, or charge up, which is impractical. Or you have to get out of the car, plug that car on charge, and then get another car, then race that car. Then it becomes like that weird middle ground, if you could say that. But then it's like, that's why you see like all the Formula Ones and the supercar races and stuff like that, all being petrol. There are Formula E's, which they just pretty much just change cars, change formulas, and you see that even though Formula E is quite good, it's not as widespread as Formula One, for a good reason. Because with Formula One, instead of having like Formula where I'm guessing is like one, they have like two on track, one extra man in the back, or with Formula with E, I believe you always have like an extra man at the back. While with Formula One, you have two on the track, and if they want to go pit stop for tires or whatever, they can quickly go in, change the tires or add fuel, and go on with the track race. And you see the benefits with owning a vehicle when it comes to many variety of things. And thank you for watching, and this is the end of the video. Thank you.